This podcast is co-created and co-produced by Food Allergy Institute and the 12 Company. Listeners should know that the podcast host, Lesley-Anne Stone, is not a physician nor a licensed medical professional, and the purpose of this podcast is strictly limited to storytelling. Any content shared within the podcast is not intended to be medical advice and should not be used for diagnosis or treatment purposes. All listeners are urged to consult their healthcare providers. The creators, hosts, and guests of this podcast are not liable for any decisions or actions taken by any persons who claim to rely upon the content of this podcast. You use this phrase. If you talk to a friend, a family member, whatever, they may paint over it. Oh, it's just a phase. Oh, it's going to get better. But when you're in therapy, it's okay to be not okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hi, I'm Lesley-Anne Stone, and this is Resilience and Hope, a Food Allergy Podcast. I am so full of emotion for today's episode. My guest today is very near and dear and special to me. Her name is Lesley Lasker, and she is my therapist. And I thought it was vital to bring Lesley onto the podcast to really tell the full story of my experience with Sam and his food allergies and going through the tolerance induction program at the Food Allergy Institute. I needed help. And it got to a point where I needed help for myself with my anxiety. I had a range of various emotions. I had a lot of anger. I had grief, and I didn't know what to do about it. And Lesley, through therapy, helped me sort through this. So welcome to the show, Lesley.
Thank you so much for having me. I am honored. I am honored that you were brave enough to share me with your listeners. It's a big deal. It's a big deal for people to say, here's my therapist. I have a therapist. I am in therapy. I've been in therapy. So I am honored that I'm a part of this.
I am honored that you are here with me and so willing to do this. I'm not going to lie. It is a bit dreamy to have you doing this podcast with me. I never thought in the time that we were in sessions together that we would be here today talking about our sessions. And it's so important to me, not only to tell the truth about Sam's story, because you are such a vital part. You're the quarterback, in my opinion, of Sam's story, but also to let people know that this is hard and this is gonna be hard and it's very real. And I think that some of the things that you taught me and the things that we discovered in therapy could help other people out there in the food allergy community. And that is the goal of this podcast today, is that I hope our truth helps other food allergy parents out there. So let's just dive right into it. I want to talk about how I found you. So you are based in Sherman Oaks, California, which is a part of Los Angeles, California in the San Fernando Valley. When Sam was a baby, I belonged to a baby class that we were grouped with babies in the same amount of weeks from each other, like the same month. They were born in the same month. And it was about a dozen mothers with their babies. And we would talk with somebody about those milestones that we were hitting every week. And the babies could play together and grow together. But we were talking with a professional who could help us developmentally with where our children were at that time. And you were associated with that group. And while I was in this group, when Sam was a year old, he was diagnosed with food allergies. And then starting the program, I needed a therapist, and you were a natural fit because you were in my part of Los Angeles and you already knew about us and knew about the program that we were in. It was just all serendipitous. So that's how I came to find you. And you are a professional and expert in motherhood. So I'll let you tell about, I mean, you are a mother, but also professionally, you're an expert in motherhood. So I'm going to stop talking. Tell us about you. Give us your backstory.
So my backstory is I was a stay-at-home mom, loved every minute of it for 17 years. And I had a 17-year-old, a 14-year-old, and an 8-year-old. And I just decided it was time for me to dive into this voice that had always been calling me to be a therapist. And I, at 42 years old, I went to graduate school. It was really, really hard. I hadn't used my brain in that way in 17 years, but I loved it. And so I was in graduate school, and I reconnected with the owner of the studio where you were taking these Parent and Me classes. And together we started developing this program for parents of pretty much like 2, 3 to 6, 7-year-olds. And we developed this program, and I started teaching after graduate school, I started teaching these classes, and they were one evening a week. And I quickly found that parents were my people. I loved helping parents become the best versions of themselves. And I loved nurturing them. Sometimes after class, someone would stay and they would just burst into tears, and we'd sit down on the floor and we would just talk it out. And I realized that was the direction I really wanted to start building my private practice. And so through those classes, and then once I became licensed, my practice was built. And now I stopped teaching those classes. I taught for almost 12 years, and now I'm just strictly a therapist. But in every day, at some point in my day, it's something about parenting. And so my clients are anywhere. I just work with adults anywhere from 18 to 80. And then there are some people who come to me just for a one-off kind of parenting, my kid's having tantrums or a sleep issue or sibling rivalry, whatever it might be. But the bulk of my practice is just life, anxiety, depression, relationships, transitions in life. And so it's, we talked about parenting, but that's not really what we were talking about. We were talking about anxiety and the world and grief and loneliness. And so that's kind of how I became a therapist. It just, and it's the best job in the world. I love it. I love people's stories. I love walking alongside people and getting to where you are.
You are very gifted at being a therapist and being somebody to help me process through everything. I'm so grateful for everything that you've given me. So let's just get right down to it. Let's get right into it. So I remember when I first reached out to you, and making the first phone call was the hardest part.
Yeah.
And I remember making that phone call to you. I remember exactly where I was. I was in my dining room. And I said to you, I have a food allergy baby. We are in this program out of the Long Beach Food Allergy Institute. I also have a baby. Sam's brother, Casey, was a couple months old. And at the time, he had just suffered febrile seizures. And for those who don't know, febrile seizures is a seizure that infants can have. Yeah. If your body temperature spikes, you can have a seizure. Right. And it's petrifying.
Yeah.
And I definitely was more than shook up over that episode, watching my baby, who was only a couple months old, have a seizure. And he had temporary paralysis from it. He is fine now. He had seizures, lasted a little bit on and off through infancy, but he outgrew it in time. And he's okay. But you helped me through that too. So you have this program, you have the baby with the seizures, and I was starting to build a marketing business at the time too. And being in the program with the Food Allergy Institute, plus having a baby, plus having these seizures, it was so much that I decided to stop working. And that was so hard for me because I spent my entire life building up a career, and I didn't know what that meant to hit the pause button on my career. And then you're dealing with the loss and grief, because there is loss and grief in having a food allergy child.
Absolutely.
I don't think people talk about that. So there was that. And then what came with all of that was anger at the world, to be very transparent. And I think I can only be transparent right now, is I got very angry with my husband. He didn't do anything wrong. He was living his life. He was going to work. He was doing it. And we were lucky that I could stop working. I mean, I want to be clear. I could have still done the program while still working, but there was just so much stress and anxiety. I had to take a leave.
You needed it. You needed to take the leave. You could have done it without taking the leave, but let's be honest, you had just given birth, you were postpartum. Casey you needed to keep your eyes on Casey at all times for your own peace of mind. Casey, the baby, what you had gone through was traumatizing. And then on top of it, how important you knew this program was for Sammy.
So important.
Yeah.
So important. And I didn't want to be angry at Dave. I didn't want to be angry at the world. I didn't want to have this anxiety. And I didn't realize the grief I was feeling with stopping work and having a food. Like, I didn't even realize that was what was going on until we started to work together. On top of it, it was really hard to work the program. It's very hard to do the tolerance induction program with a toddler. It's really hard. I needed help with that too. But can we start by talking about the anger and the anger I had at the world, the anger I had at my community, the anger I had at Dave? If you don't mind, let's look at that. You said that's normal to project that anger. Can you give us some insight on that?
Well, first of all, anger is a secondary emotion. Anger is typically driven by something underneath, which could be sadness, loneliness, fear, grief. And so you expressed it as anger, but you were feeling sadness, grief, loneliness, isolation. But anger is easy for people to express. It's easy to get angry because we just naturally know how to do it. It's outward. It's forceful. It's strong. It's powerful. And so you were angry. You were angry at Dave, and God love him. He's a wonderful husband and father, and
yes, he is
everything. And he was going to work because he had to, right? He had to go to work and keep his job and do a good job and make money and do what he had to do. And it looked like he was just walking out the door and leaving you, but he really wasn't. He was going out and doing his part, but you were mad. You were just mad that this was your life and grieving the loss of the career that you had built.
The uncertainty around it. And it came back. Oh, it came back. But but at the time I was so in the weeds in it. It was really scary. And the lifestyle adjustment that we had to make because I wasn't working. It was scary.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of uncertainty. But I knew I had to do this program. Like, that was non-negotiable. Non-negotiable.
You lost a big part of your identity. For your whole life, you had a career. You were a worker. You were, and then you became a mom, which is really common for women when they're working and a mom. They're like, who am I, right? Am I a career woman or am I a mom? And how do I reconcile the two? And how do I do them both well? Well, you had just sort of started to figure that out. And then all of a sudden it was ripped away from you. And now you're just a mom. And that was an identity that Lesley-Anne Stone never thought she was going to have. Like, you, as far as I remember, you never saw yourself as a stay-at-home mom. It wasn't, it wasn't the path that you were on. You were juggling all the balls. You were doing it until you couldn't.
And I had these two kids they were suffering.
Yeah.
It was rough. A lot of fear with this food allergy child. Granted, we were in the program, but still, that anywhere we went, restaurants, play dates, birthday, whatever, preschool, wherever we went, we were putting his life in the hands of somebody else. And just, I feared the community that we were around. It's just everything was a threat leaving the house.
You never knew, because most people in this world don't know. They don't know about allergies. They don't know how to protect someone from allergies. And you had to be Sam's bubble, around him at all times. You had to always be looking and watching.
Is lonely being a mom of a baby, a newborn to begin with?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's discussed a lot either. People think it's like a lot of joy. Well, there is a lot of joy, but there's also a loneliness, and there is an isolation on top of all of that. And you're physically changing.
Mm-hmm.
Totally physically changing.
Totally physically changing, and not necessarily changing back to what you remember or what you liked or what you thought your partner liked. And so there's fear and grief and anxiety in that too.
A lot. It's a lot. It's a lot.
It was like this perfect storm for you to reach out for help, because you had it coming at you from so many different angles.
And I remember when I told you this on the first phone call, standing in my dining room, I remember you were like, yep. And I was just like, oh, it's going to be okay. You use this phrase. If you talk to a friend, a family member, whatever, they may paint over it. Oh, it's just a phase. Oh, it's going to get better. But when you're in therapy, it's okay to be not okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that a good way of putting it? It's okay to not be okay.
Yeah, we sit with it. We sit with it, and we look at it, and we tease through it, and we just let it be. We don't try and say, well, at least, he has a cute little nose, like we don't paint over it in that way. And it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard while you're going through it. And there'll be wonderful times and joyful times. And then there'll be a hard time. And that's life. And then we work to build up your resilience and your strength.
You were so instrumental in helping come up with tactics to get Sam to work the tolerance induction program, because he had to eat certain foods at certain times of day in certain quantities, and then had to do certain things afterwards. Like when we would dose certain types of tree nuts and then later peanut, he couldn't exercise for about an hour after. Right. In particular, the mornings were really tough. Getting Sam to eat breakfast, eat what he had to eat, and then get him out the door for school was really tough. And we started to go into the cycle, me and Sam, where there was always tension in the morning. Even before we sat down for breakfast, like there was just tension in the air. There was already just this, we were anticipating a battle, me and him. And he was like in preschool. He was like 3, 4, and 5. And
it was the routine. It became like brushing your teeth, putting on your clothes and go fight with mommy. It was the pattern that the two of you were stuck in.
It was not good. And you helped me break the pattern. So one thing you came up with so brilliantly is the binder, the famous binder. You said to me, we need to have something. I'm a control freak, but I'm telling everyone else I'm a control freak. I like to be in control. And we needed something that was not Sam, that was not Lesley-Anne, that was like a third party, and put the pressure on that third thing. And what you had me do is a FedEx arrived one day and there was a binder, a very colorful binder. I remember it had like different color polka dots on it. Mm-hmm. And inside it was really cool. There was like one of those binder packets where you would put pencils in it. And I had really neat stickers, and the stickers were all characters of things that Sam liked at the times, like Star Wars and Paw Patrol. And then we had in the binder, there was a chart. And it had you told me to do it. I made the chart, and it was the day of the week and then pictures of the nuts he had to eat. So for every day if he ate his pecan, we took off the sticker, he did it. And he put it in for all of his nuts. I mean, and he ate a lot of nuts in it. I mean, there was quite a few, but we said to him, this is your work. This is your job. And Dr. Randhawa sent this binder to Sam and for his job. And then every time we went to the Food Allergy Institute, Sam then gave the binder to Doc, and Doc then signed off on it. And he bought into it, and we rode that wave with the binder for quite some time. So Talk to me about the psychology of the binder.
I mean, it really just came up in our work together. But I think what was happening is we were trying different things and it wasn't working. And you and Sam were still butting heads and he was digging his heels in. And we had to meet him where he was at. We had to, really look at Sam. And what I think I saw was that here's this little 3-year-old boy. Was he 3 or 2? What was he at the time?
He was 3. He was 3.
3, who had this little brother who was technically a baby. He was little and getting all that sort of little person baby attention. And Sam was kind of stuck in between, am I a baby or am I a big boy? And he wanted to be a big boy. And so we needed to kind of meet him there. And, Dad goes off to work with his bag and papers and whatever he's got. And you probably had a desk or the dining room table that had, your work on it. And kids love stuff. And so that's where it came from, was just like, let's give him his stuff, his work, his notebook with, and I said, buy a pencil pouch and buy stickies and buy stickers and buy him lots of stuff because kids really like stuff, and make it his job, his work. And that then kind of connected him to the big boy world. Like, mommy and daddy have their work and this is my work. And it made him feel important in the house and an important part of the program, that it wasn't mommy's making me do this. It became, this is my job. This is my work.
And he would show it. Mm-hmm. When people came over to the house, he would show them the binder. And I told some people in advance, ask to see the binder. And, God bless the people at the Food Allergy Institute. Everybody bought into it. Oh, Sam, you brought your work. Yeah. Oh, it became part of his appointments. Everybody bought into it.
Right.
Tell us more about rewards charts and your opinion on rewards charts.
So I don't love rewards charts, especially for kids Sam's age, because it could take a kid 3 weeks to get 5 stickers. And what happens with parents is they get frustrated and they say, I'm taking a sticker away. And, you're so frustrated and you're angry that it just doesn't end up working. So typically I don't recommend star charts. I do like instant gratification for kids. And so I'll tell parents to, get a bag or a box. It doesn't have to be fancy. You could make it fancy, but just get something and then write down on little pieces of paper things that you would do anyway. So it could be, 15 minutes on the iPad, or a piggyback ride upstairs, or an extra story, or dinner in the backyard. And so it's things that you as a parent can do very easily that day. And so with Sam, we may have said, okay, each day that you eat your peanut, you can take something from the bag and you get it that day. So where a rewards chart, he would be putting you would say, when you get 5 stars, we're going to go to the toy store. Well, it could have taken him 2 weeks to get 5 stars. I mean, it wouldn't, because you had to make him eat the peanut, but in another situation. So the bag, the bonus bag, the prize bag, it works into that day. Each time the child does said skill, they get something that day. And so it has to be simple that the parents can do. It's not a trip to Disneyland. It's really just something that you would do anyway. So we may have tried a version of that with Sam. I don't know. But with Sam, we just realized he needed to feel big. He needed to feel like he had important work to do. And we needed to take it away from you, because that wasn't working. And can I go back to Dave for a second?
Of course, please.
So the thing about you were feeling resentful that Dave was leaving. And the reality is, if Dave had stayed home with you and the two of you were in the kitchen trying to get Sam to eat the macadamia nut, what most likely would have happened is the two of you would have ended up in a fight. You would have ended up at each other, because I remember, when tension's high and you got to get out of the house, or you're, late for an appointment or whatever's going on, you start to sweat, your heart's pounding, you're late, you're freaking out. And what do? You lash out at your partner. He's not moving fast enough, or she's not getting it done right, or she's talking too harshly, or he's talking too softly, to the child. And so the reality is, if Dave had stayed home and done it with you, the two of you would have ended up at each other anyway. So kind of in a way, am I right?
No, you are. Of course you're right.
But that was kind of what was happening with you and Sam. And so you were so tense about it. It had to be done, and he wasn't doing it the way that you wanted him to do it. And so you just ended up in this power struggle. So the binder kind of took it all away from Sam and all away from Lesley-Anne, kind of put it on Doc. It was like, it was his assignment. And so it worked. It was magical. It really did.
What's so interesting about Sam now, he's 12 and in middle school, and they switch classes every period, and they have homework for a different teacher for every period. And he's very responsible. He has his homework assignment pad. He writes it down, and he goes home and he does his homework. I never have to push Sam to do his homework, which is really rare. I attribute it to the program. So it's interesting, like that psychology. But we also did the fake phone call from Dr. Randhawa. So at the end of breakfast, this faded quickly because he got really into the binder. But I used to be like, oh my God, my phone's ringing. Oh, it's Dr. Randhawa. Yes, he did it. He ate his breakfast. Okay, I'll let him know. Good job. Doc says good job. And he believed it. He just had, I guess he still does, just tremendous reverence and respect, and
the higher power.
He's the higher power. Dr. Randhawa is the higher power. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. So putting it on Doc.
Yeah.
Bless his heart. It definitely helped. But another thing to get him to eat what he had to eat was I let him eat whatever he wanted to eat with that nut. So now the program has changed a bit where they actually give the dosage in gummy bears that they make in-house at the Food Allergy Institute. It's incredible.
Amazing.
But back when it's unbelievable. But back in the day when we were in the program, we were given up grounded, little minuscule amount of nut, and the kid had to eat it, and he would be hysterical about just eating that. So I would put it into whatever he wanted, and we rode this wave in the mornings where the only way he would eat what he had to eat is it had to be in Duncan Hines vanilla frosting. But I remember some of my friends were like, oh my gosh, is he getting what he has to eat? And he's eating frosting for breakfast and blah, 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 blah. And you said to me, whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Just whatever it takes. Talk about that. Because I know you have very specific opinions and insight with kids having to eat what they have to eat for nutrition and getting kids to try new foods and eat.
Right. Because the greater goal was getting Sam to eat the whatever it was, the nut. And that had to be done. Eating a tablespoon of frosting every day, it's not going to kill anybody. There was nothing.
It was a little more than a tablespoon. Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Go on. But it was what had to happen. And it was to save his life. It was to change his life. It was to change the course of your family's life. I mean, if you had not done this program with Sam, your family's life would have been different. You wouldn't be able to move through the world as freely as you do. And so it just
every aspect of our life would be different if we did not do the Food Allergy Institute. Every aspect of our life would be different.
We kind of had to let everything else go, nutrition or sugar or whatever, people were chirping in your ear about. We had to let it go and just get the food in him that he had to eat. So I didn't care what the vehicle was. It didn't make a difference to me. It was just, let's just get it in him. And so I think what you're alluding to is when we talked about dipping broccoli in ice cream, and where, parents will, talk to me about their kids' habits, and they're so worried their kids aren't eating vegetables and they only want the ice cream. And so I'll say, then let them dip the broccoli in the ice cream. Like, who cares? It's all going to the same place. And if the goal is to get your child to eat broccoli, then let them dip it in some ice cream. Like, it sounds disgusting to me, but if your child likes it and that means that they're consuming, 4 stalks of broccoli, okay, great.
It was also about the frosting and the nuts. It was also about how to do it without a fight. And if that's what's going to take without having that tension in the morning at breakfast,
absolutely,
then that's what it was going to be. And he doesn't eat frosting for breakfast every day now. Like, he eats a normal breakfast. Like, I remember that he's going to eat it forever, and you're ruining his habits. No, it's like a blip.
People have to just turn the volume down on all the noise from their friends, family, social media, because you had to just put blinders on and just zero in on the job that you had to do, that you were committed to doing, and just stay in that zone and not deviate from it.
You're right. You have to just stay laser focused. We have to get through this program. What is it going to take to do it without the fight in the morning? It's all of that.
Yeah, just to get it done. Right. Get to the finish line and not get derailed by what other people think that they know. And they don't. Nobody other than a parent in that program, I didn't even know. I took my cues from you. So nobody but you or another parent in the program knows what it's like to be a parent in the program.
You're right. You helped me with something else towards the end of the program when Sam was cleared to eat foods that were processed in a facility with peanuts and tree nuts. And I took him to CVS and I said to him, here's the candy aisle. Pick out whatever you want. You could have Reese's. You could have Three Musketeers. You could have Snickers. You could have blah, 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 all this stuff. And he went for like the same old, the safe food that he's always eaten all along. But you can have this. You try this and try this. And you told me to stop doing that. And you said eventually he'll eat it.
Yeah, but that was about you. You were so excited that Sam had completed the program, that you had completed the program, that the world was his oyster. You were excited about it. He didn't relate to it that way. He doesn't know that there's Snickers and Baby Ruth. He doesn't know about all that. You know about all of that. You knew that that was safe for him. But he was still happy and content with what he knew. That was all he knew, and that was enough for him. And so you were projecting your excitement and your, open arms to the candy aisle onto him. But he wasn't ready for it.
And you told me too, just like the psychology of somebody, try this, you have to try it so good, you have to try it so good. In a way, you don't want to try it.
But that goes back to that old dynamic of you trying to force him to do something that he didn't want to do. That was control again. You wanting him to try every candy on the aisle, and that it was so delicious and it was amazing. And this one was my favorite when I was a little kid. And, this is grandma's favorite. And, all of that. He didn't want that. He just wanted what he liked. And he got there, right?
Yes.
I mean, now I'm assuming he eats it all.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Loves the Reese's, loves everything, loves the candy, everything. And it's not lost on me when I do bake something that has Reese's in it or peanut in it, or, make something that has some kind of cross-contamination. It's not lost. And I don't make a big deal of it. Sometimes I'll say, I slip and I'll be like, you can eat this now, you can eat this. Like, here's an example. Hummus. He was very allergic to tahini, which is a key ingredient in hummus. And he hated hummus. And at the end of the program, I just so desperately wanted him to eat hummus all the time. And it was just recently that I had hummus and I just happened to have it out on the table at dinner and he just wanted to happen to try it. And now he likes it. He eats hummus multiple times a week. And I quietly am like celebrating. Like to me, that's just like the most amazing thing ever. Cause I remember that first reaction to hummus was so bad. And then now he's just eating it on his own. It's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell me why somebody should choose to go to therapy. When should somebody seek therapy?
I think everybody should have somebody that, not that they see all the time. I don't believe in lifelong therapy. I mean, but I do think it's nice for most people to have a relationship with somebody that they can call when something's going on that they just need to talk through. They just need to process it. Because when something's going on and you try to talk to your spouse or a friend or a family member, they're invested in you, right? They want you to be happy. They want you to feel good, or they want you to do what they think is right for you. And a therapist there's no investment. It's completely an unbiased person who is really just there to kind of, like I say that my role is to be like a helicopter, to rise above the situation, to hear what's going on, see what's going on, and then help my clients see it from a different perspective, from a different angle, not with any, no agenda on my part whatsoever, because I'm not invested the way that a family member or a friend or a spouse would be. So therapy is just a really safe place to kind of let it out and look at it and figure it out. Sometimes it's just a place to just let it out and not figure anything out, but just get it out from inside. It's like I have these little vessels on my fictitious bookshelf where people can just kind of let their junk out, and I hold it for them.
This is a word you hear about in therapy, process. What does that mean?
To sort through it, just to really sort through your feelings and look at them and talk about them and dissect them.
And why is that good?
Well, first it's you're releasing it. You know, when someone's grieving, they really need to process the grief. They need to talk about it and how much pain they're in and how lonely they are, and just to let the words out, because otherwise it just stays inside your body. And, you know, that stress on your body is horrible. It can cause all sorts of other than extra problems down the road. But processing your thoughts, your problems, your grief, it just lets it out. It releases it from inside your body, and then helps you piece through it and maybe get to the other side, get to peace with it, get to a place where you just can go, okay, I still have those thoughts, I still have the feelings, but they don't eat at me the way that they did before.
And I think that's how you really help me. I mean, you help me in so many ways, but on a top level, big picture, you help me process and be at peace with Sam's food allergies and being in the program and the situation with Casey, and then what I had to do with my career and all that uncertainty at the time. You really helped me be at peace with it.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful for that. So how does somebody find a therapist, the right therapist?
Sometimes it might take meeting with one or two people, getting on the phone and having a conversation. But I would really, if you're not comfortable going to a friend or a family member and saying, hey, I've got something going on I want to talk about, do you know someone? I would go to your pediatrician. I would go to your general practitioner, to an OBGYN. They all have vetted lists of therapists that they have worked with or their patients have worked with. So all doctors have a list of therapists that they will be happy to give you. There's a website, psychologytoday.com, where you can go in across the United States and put in your area, what you're looking for. You can narrow it down, different filters to find a therapist, and then see the person's bio, website, get a sense for who they are. But that's really, those are the best ways, either a referral from somebody directly, from a trusted medical professional, or go onto a trusted website.
So if somebody's listening and wants to contact you, how can they contact you?
My website is Lesley-Lasker.com. So they can certainly look me up on the internet and then send me an email or a phone call. It's all on there. But my website is Lesley-Lasker.com.
Lesley-Lasker.com. And you see patients in California for therapy, but you could do parent consulting on a one-off, just a quick parent consulting for anybody all over the country.
And then I supervise associates who are pre-licensed therapists gaining their hours. And so that's also a really good way for people who are looking for affordable but really good therapy in California to reach out to me for their information as well.
One thing we've talked about together is that everybody has struggles. Everybody carries a wagon. Someone once said to me, everyone carries a wagon. And Sam and his food allergies are in my wagon. My mother with terminal brain cancer and losing my mother, my wagon. What's your opinion on that? I know you have a different metaphor for that.
Everybody comes into a relationship with a bag of rocks. You say a wagon, I say a bag of rocks. With a bag of rocks, and you have to see or know that you can carry your partner's bag of rocks or pull their wagon. And that's a fact of life. Everybody's got a wagon and there's stuff in that wagon, and nobody's wagon is empty. I think that, that's one of the most unfortunate pieces of social media is that people think that other people have it so good and their wagons are empty and my wagon is so full. But that's not the case. That's not reality. That wouldn't even be interesting. Part of what makes you interesting is all of your life experiences, some really hard and a lot really wonderful. But that's all of that is in your wagon, right? Sam, Casey, Dave, your career, your mom, it's all in your wagon. And that's why people connect to you. Because you have a story and you have life behind you. And so you can be raw and you can be real and you can connect to people. So your wagon may have stuff in it, but it's a good wagon. It's got a lot of good stuff in it too.
Thank you for saying that. There's a lot of love in my wagon. How about that?
There is. There really is. But there's a lot of love and a lot of life. There's a lot of love and a lot of life in your wagon. And that's what makes you, you.
There's also a lot of drama in my wagon.
Right? But you know what? That's what makes you, you too. Right? That's what makes you interesting. That's who you are. And so that's not a bad thing. It's not too heavy for you or for the people that love you. So I wouldn't change any of that.
Did I make it clear that Dave and I have a good marriage? It's just like, Dave and I are cool. We are cool.
You and Dave are awesome. And honestly, as I said, if Dave had stayed home and done it with you, you might not be as cool as you are today.
It's true. It's true.
Because you know what it's like for two people trying to do something so stressful. It doesn't always go well.
He had to do what he had to do.
He had to do what your family needed him to do, and you had to do what you needed your family to do. But you were in the thick of it, and it felt so lonely and so isolating and so unfair that you were home. And I think many mothers feel this way, whether it's dealing with allergies or not, but you were home with the diapers and the spit up and the fever and the seizure and the allergies and the food and the household chores. And it felt like an unequal division of labor, but it was just what had to be at that time.
And logically speaking, I wanted Dave to go to work and pursue his career, and he had an amazing job, and I wanted him to do all of that. I think I was just envious. Why me? Why do I have to put everything on hold? But I would do it all over again in a heartbeat. I'm going to be honest with you. I would do it all over again in a heartbeat to get Sam to the place that he's in now. Like, no questions asked.
And Lesley-Anne, to get you where you are right now.
Thank you. That's very kind of you to say. Thank you. Woo! Well, I think we need to end it on that note. Oh, Lesley, thank you. Thank you so much for being here today. And thank you to the listeners for tuning in on this very, very, very real edition of Resilience and Hope, a Food Allergy Podcast. If you have any questions, we have an email address. Please reach out to us, resilienceandhopepodcast@gmail.com. We also have an Instagram, Resilience and Hope Podcast. It's at Resilience and Hope Podcast on Instagram. We'd love to hear from you. We would love your feedback. Please subscribe to our podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. Please give us a review. Give us 5 stars. It would mean so much to me and everyone here at the Food Allergy Institute. Thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, I'm Lesley-Anne Stone. Thank you. The information shared in this episode is for educational and informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional mental health treatment or therapy. If you are struggling with your mental health or are in crisis, please reach out to a professional for support. You can call or text the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline for free. Confidential support 24/7. Help is available and you don't have to go through it alone. Resilience and Hope Podcast, made possible thanks to the support of Food Allergy Institute.